Welcome to TOOP TV's newest segment, Fireside Chat. The original Fireside Chat was a regular radio show used by presidents to inform the public of the latest issues. It originated in 1933 and ran until 1944. But now the Fireside Chat is back and we're using it to tell you about the latest real estate issues. It's uninterrupted interviews with the experts in the know. So sit back, relax and enjoy Fireside Chat.
Now, real estate has changed substantially, particularly over the last decade and more particularly over the last couple of years. And for those of you that have been looking at property, and I know that's not just the buyers and sellers because I have many friends who do it for a hobby, realestate.com seems to have emerged as the giant, the absolute massive part of our world now. And to that end, there's not anyone that doesn't know about realestate.com when it comes to property. So today we're interviewing the head guru, the man himself, the CEO, Mr. Greg Ellis, who has taken over realestate.com since September of 08. So welcome, Greg.
Great to be here, Anthony. Thank you.
Yeah, and what brings you to South Australia?
Well, to see customers. We had to see you, of course, in your business, and we met some customers yesterday or last night for dinner. And we had a customer presentation yesterday, so it's just to get a feel for South Australia. I make it a general policy to try and get round to each of our offices once a quarter to stay in touch with the market.
Awesome. Now, Greg, just let's rewind a bit. You took over the business 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. It was a big business then. Mm-hmm. Where are you from?
My most recent experience before realestate.com.au was with Microsoft, and before that I worked for 3 years in Europe.
So is your experience technology based or sales based?
It's commercially based, so I'm technology capable, although my IT guys tell me that I'm illiterate. But
I get told that daily, by the way.
I'm a commercial guy who understands technology.
Right. Now, why did you take over from the previous CEO?
Well, the board at that particular time decided that that realestate.com.au and its interests needed a different direction, so that's a decision that the board made.
Right.
I was lucky enough to be offered that opportunity, and I was very happy to accept it. I was living in Singapore at the time. It was a good opportunity to come back to Australia, but work in an area that I love, which is the internet, and the second love, which is real estate. And obviously with the overseas business as well, I get to maintain that overseas flavour as well.
So I used to be on the Real Estate Advisory Board, which was running for a number of years. You may or may not be aware of it. It was pre 2 years, where each state had a representative. Mm-hmm. Now, the direction that realestate.com was taking seemed to be going international. Is that still the future direction?
Our core market is and always will be Australia. There's Australia's property in Australia, the sophistication with the way it's marketed, the amount of money that's invested by governments and developers, real estate agents, vendors is significant. So it is a tremendous place to be for all of us to share in this business. Australia will be the core market, but we do have some interest overseas. Our biggest business and the one we're most optimistic about overseas is Italy. And we'll continue to do that. So we got out of about 7 businesses when I first joined. They just didn't have a market position that we thought was capable of turning into profitable revenue. And so we made some hard decisions when I first came, and we kept 4 businesses: Australia, Hong Kong, Luxembourg and Italy.
Right. So how closely linked is realestate.com to the Murdoch portfolio? Is it sort of considered part of their portfolio, or is it more considered independent?
Well, practically they own 61% of the REA
so they've
group.
Got control.
They have control, but they do understand that online is a different business to their core businesses of newspapers and free-to-air and pay television. So the REA group, which is the company that owns realestate.com.au, is a separate listed company. And when the directors come into that meeting, they come representing REA as the independent company.
Because McGrath and Ray White, the White Group, own big slabs of it as well still?
No, John McGrath sold down a significant percentage of his shares around about 12 months ago. He has a very small, off the top of my head, it's a couple 100,000 shares left.
Okay.
The White family sold all of their shares, but Sam White has his own personal shareholding, which again, off the top of my head, is a couple 100,000 shares.
So are there any other big investors in REA?
No, our principal investors now are News Limited, which owns 61%, and then we have a range of financial or professional hedge funds and super funds, etc. So we really have, from an industry point of view, we don't really have major industry participation.
Okay. Now, so the primary focus is residential real estate, and then commercial real estate is now sort of another arm to it. Is that right?
Well, there are in Australia we have three businesses. There's a residential business, which is the biggest business.
Yes.
Our financial year results FY10 were announced about 2 or 3 months ago.
How'd you go?
Good. Yeah. No, we're still here, which is good.
It can't be too bad. I know what we're paying.
Well, it's good value though relative to the alternative.
That's okay. Yeah.
It was about $100 million for the residential business. Our next biggest business is the media business,
right?
Which we sell advertising to financial institutions and developers together
on the site.
On the site, right? That's about $40 million, and then the commercial business was in the mid-20s. So there are three different businesses which make up the Australian business.
Now, Greg, before your time, we won an award for our mobile applications of our website. At that time, realestate.com, and it was probably 5 or 6 years ago, realestate.com had a policy that they were not interested in mobile delivery. So in other words, delivery to, at that time it was the PDAs, like the Blackberries and so on. Now, so, we'd been playing in that space a lot, and we developed a lot of delivery to handheld devices off our TOOP.com.au.
Right.
Now, the period that you've been in since 2008, by the way, September 2008 was right on the GFC.
Just before.
Welcome to the CEO position.
Well, every CEO enjoyed that ride, I can tell you.
Unreal. So you walked into a minefield, didn't you?
Well, it was, I wouldn't say it was a minefield, but it required considerable focus and attention. And, we have a very good team at REA. Supported by a board who's very committed to the success of the company.
But you'd only just come in, so you would have been grappling with a new business, and then the GFC wave hit.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I mean, I've worked in internet businesses for 10 years. So the model's familiar. What's different about is the subtleties in the customer base and how you should be dealing with the customer base. But I agree. I mean, every CEO and every company and in fact, every business owner, TOOP included, would have had a fresh look at things through the GFC.
We had a very fresh look, I can tell you. Turnover in our market, which is middle to top, was down 40%. So in other words, the number of people selling dropped 40% in that quarter.
Well, in the commercial sector, and we talked about this in our presentations, the commercial sector Australia-wide dropped 90. On transaction volume.
But that's not bad for you because they keep the property on realestate.com.
Well, because the internet comes into its own, and for residential agents as well, because it's a cost-effective. And it's 24/7.
Yeah.
And it's highly measurable. So when the hold times or the sales cycle goes out, that's a good place to be.
Completely agree, because when people have spent their marketing dollars and maybe 50 or 100% over what they intended to spend, because they get caught up in extended times.
Correct.
No one's fault,
no.
Just what happens.
No.
Internet is a bit of a saviour.
Correct.
Now I want to get back to the mobile devices.
Okay.
Now, News Corp International have backed Apple. That's my understanding.
Well, I think that they're very disposed towards the Apple model because they can now get people to download on the iPads the applications that host their newspapers. Yes.
Right.